Quick question. How many times are you going to be prepping for an ACP meeting this week? 3 times? 5 times? Of course, we're going to be using that prompt that we built in episode 1 on storytelling as part of our meeting preparation. But then we'd have to go find a prompt, copy it, paste it, and pretty soon we're going to be annoyed. It's just not sustainable. What if that prompt could remember our preferences and get smarter over time? And that's where we're going to be working on today. I'm Nandini Sabrawal, and welcome back to the Medical Affairs Lab. In this episode, From Prompt to Agent, we're going to show you how to turn that one-time prompt that we built in episode 1 into a personal agent. Let me clarify what I mean by agent. I'm not talking about any coding. I'm talking about creating a specific set of instructions that execute on specific tasks. So think of an agent as a solo instrument. It is a saxophone that plays very smooth. It cannot do what a piano does unless you tell it to. So in your workflow, think about when do I go use a one-time prompt versus when to use an agent. For a one-time prompt, you have to start from scratch each time. When there's no learning involved, when you have 2 different chat windows, although it's on the same topic. And so it's just a copy-paste workflow. With an agent, it will learn your preferences over time, it understands your context, and it incorporates feedback very well. Now, let's use the prompt that we created from episode 1 on storytelling and create an agent out of that. I'm going to use ChatGPT's, the custom GPTs. So when I log into my ChatGPT account, I have on the left-hand side, the chat window over here. There's GPTs and there's projects. I'm going to choose GPT. When you click on Explore, this is the main GPT window. And on the far upper right-hand side, here's the option to create a GPT. So I will click on that and it opens up into this screen. Now, this is the back end sort of workflow and creating a GPT, which is on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side is a preview window. So you can test it out as you are making the changes on the left-hand side. Once you get the hang of it, it becomes really cool. There is two workflows here. You can create a custom GPT from scratch. So here's a chat window and you can say, hey, this is what I'm looking to create. Help me create an agent based on this. And you give it the more detailed instructions or tasks that you want the agent to perform. I'm going to use the configure section over here since it's a little bit more defined for me, and I just kind of have more control over what I'm putting into it. It starts off with naming your GPT. I'm going to call it the scientific storyteller, the agent. Here is a short description. And so I'm going to copy paste the exact word from the prompt we had used in the first episode. And for the descriptions, I'll say you are a medical communications strategist specializing in transforming clinical data into compelling patient journey narratives and facilitating ATP discussion simulations for pharmaceutical meetings. The window under here is the set of instructions. Again, I'm copy pasting the same set of instructions from that prompt where it's core task or the patient journey development using the setup problem resolution structure, and it will do the ACP persona simulation for me. So everything is exactly the same. Below that is the conversation starters. You can give them suggested things that they can click on to get to interact with the agent. So for example, how would different ACPs respond to the attached document? You see, once I've entered that on the right hand side of the screen, it pops up over here. I can enter as many conversation starters that I want to. I highly recommend doing this so that way your users will see right away exactly what questions to ask the agent. Now, I'll move on from there. Here is its knowledge base. So if there are specific types of files that you will always be using, that it is good to just upload that files, and that way the agent can always use that as its knowledge source. You of course can just upload, the content that you're preparing on into the chat window. That's also fine if it depends on it's changing. Once you are okay with this, you can hit create all the way on the upper right hand side. And right now I'll just limit it to only me. I'll save it because right now we're testing it out on our own. You can hit view GPT, and here is our storyteller agent here. That's the difference between if you're using a regular ChatGPT window versus when you're using an agent. Up here on the upper left-hand side, it will tell you which one you're using. So let's interact with our agent. I will upload the file. So in this case, I'll just use the same file that I used in episode 1, which is on atopic dermatitis. Let's start off with provide me 3 patient journey stories. So the agent it will read the file, and it will start synthesizing the stories for you. It is the first patient journey story it's created, a typical moderate atopic derm patient. This is the setup. Marisol, a 28-year-old Latina woman. It has the same thing, the problem, the resolution here. It's created the second patient journey story, a complex comorbid patient with severe atopic dermatitis. And here's your patient journey story 3. So as you've seen, it's that simple. You don't need to copy and paste every time you're going and doing your meeting preparation, and you want to be able to storytell the data. You don't need to go and open up a new chat window every time, cut and paste the instructions, tell it exactly what you're looking for. With the agent, you could go directly into the agent chat window, and start uploading your content and then asking it questions. We can run another scenario over here. Here is if it'll give you prompted suggestions. If you'd like, I can generate a simulated advisory board discussions with KOL community HCP specialist. They could do discussion questions for an educational meeting. I want to say how would different HCPs respond to the attached document. Our agent is thinking. Let's see what it comes up with. Here it's giving us its response. This is the academic KOL dermatologist when looking at the data. This is perhaps their initial reaction to it, what they say in the room. Interesting, what they say in the room. Here are some key questions that you can, for you to think about as you are doing the meeting preparation. Here are concerns or objections that might come up with the data. It's interesting what would convince them and how they would use this in practice. And it follows the same format with the community dermatologist, the PCP with derm interest. This is all great information, but let's say I realized that the agent didn't emphasize the parent perspectives enough from a pediatric standpoint. And in this scenario, we were meeting in episode 1, we were meeting with Dr. Chen and her pediatric group. I can go back and make that modification to reflect more of a parent perspectives. And here's how to do it. Up here, scientific storyteller agent. If you click on it, it opens up and you can edit GPT. So I have 2 ways of doing this. Making that update. I can go back to the configure section, and in the set of instructions, I can update that and tell it to incorporate parent perspectives. Or I can go to the create section here, and I can tell it the specific modifications that I want to make. So here's what I'll say. When an ATP is a pediatric specialist, always include this, the parent giver perspective or patient journey stories, considerations for shared decision making with adolescents, and age appropriate communication strategies. So I will have it include that. And it says understood. I'll update the scientific storyteller agent so whenever the ACP audience includes pediatric specialists, it will automatically incorporate these things. Now, let's go back and test that. And we can go over here and go back to our chat window and we can test it out. Provide a discussion session for a pediatric specialist because that is who I am meeting with. And let's see what it gives. All right, let's take a look. Here's how a pediatric atopic derm specialist might talk through or react to the slide deck that I had given it. Here's the initial reaction, what the pediatric specialist likes about the deck, burden and severe framing, age-specific approvals, where they might want more information, questions the pediatric specialist would pose, and it's just continuing the conversation on. You can pick certain specific things that it's given you and delve a little bit more deeper into it. And that's how easy it is once you get the hang of it. I promise you, it becomes more easier.
Of course, there's homework involved. I would like you to build your own agent using the framework that we have just reviewed. Test it out with others, get feedback from them. They're going to help you spot edge cases that you didn't even realize. Make those changes, iterate on it, and pretty soon you're going to have a really powerful, cool agent. This brings us to episode 3. I'm going to show you how to turn that cool agent and transform it into a proof of concept. How to really build an executive buy-in from leadership and wow them. Please drop your agent descriptions below in the comment. I would like to see what you build. Hit subscribe and I'll see you in episode 3. Of course, there's homework involved. I would like you to build your own agent using the framework that we have just reviewed. Test it out with others, get feedback from them. They're going to help you spot edge cases that you didn't even realize.